If you're a solo woman camper, then you know there are a few non-negotiables that come along with camping on your own. Hey, I'm Bing from Wonder Bing Travel. I have road tripped across the US, Canada, and into Europe over 60,000 miles, and many of them with Lexi, my golden retriever. We also do a lot of camping, and today I want to share with you how I choose campsites so that I feel safe and confident and comfortable in my surroundings. Today I'm breaking down exactly how I choose safe campsites, how I do my research, and how I trust my instincts once I arrive on site. Stick around for story time at the end. I'm going to share with you how everything that I'm going to show you today got put into practice when Lexi, my golden, and I faced two very real threats in a short span of time in Montana last summer, and what we did about it. Let's not waste any time and get right to it. Let's get straight into strategy number one, which is explore before you go. One thing I've learned as a solo woman camping is that safety starts before I ever leave home. I don't just roll into some place and hope for the best. No, I definitely am a bit of a planner. And while I can't always know where I'm going to spend the night, I do spend a significant amount of time in the weeks before my trip looking at possible campgrounds, sometimes making reservations, but doing a good amount of research. I'm going to give you a quick example using the Campendium app, although I'm going to do it on my computer so that I can show you and you can follow along. This is an app that you can put on your phone as well as a website, and you will find any state park there, national park, forest land, public campground, private campground, almost everything is listed there, and you'll find out a great deal about each one. So let's dig into it. We are in the Campendium website, Campendium, and I put in one of my favorite little areas in Colorado, which is Westcliff, Colorado. And when I search for that, what I get is a list on the left here of all kinds of different campgrounds that are in the area. I can sort by categories, public land, RV park, whether they have dump stations or not. I can sort by price, and there's other filters as well. I'm going to scroll down to a campground I know of because I feel like I can speak a little bit better about it with you, and that is Alvarado Campground. Okay, Alvarado Campground, here it is. You've got pictures here of some sites. So here's some things that I can learn. The last price that was paid is $22. There are 27 sites, reservations. It does take reservations. It doesn't say required. It's dirt. It tells you when it's open, what the elevation is. The elevation is quite high in this area. You can stay for a maximum of 14 days. Tent camping, yes. Maximum length, yes. Is there cell service? Well, here, information about the cell service. 1 bar for Verizon users, 2 bars for AT&T users. It has 3 reviews, which obviously isn't that many. Let's look at amenities. Hookups. It's dry camping, so there is no water, there is no electricity. Some websites, especially those that might be for a specific state park or specific national forest, they will let you see photos of each individual site. So let me show you an example of that. Here's an example of a state park. I looked up Heiner Run State Park, which is in Pennsylvania, using the DCNR website, which is reserveamerica.com. And this one is Pennsylvania State Parks. You can find this for just about any state in the U.S. They're super thorough, and they all are a little quirky and a little different, but basically you get the same idea. You can put in your arrival dates and search for available. It shows me all of the different sites here, and I can see that there are 31 sites, 20 are electric, 9 are non-electric. There's pavilions, and let's see, let's click on one here. And you can see with each one I click on, I get a photo. I can click on see the details, and it will show me when is it reserved, when is it available, and it should show me photos. So here are 6 photos of this specific website, or specific campsite, which is number 8. Looks beautiful. So you need to read through these things carefully. It gives you lots and lots of information. So I usually spend some time scoping out the individual sites, look around, do I want to be near, they show the bathrooms on these normally, and bathhouses and that type of thing, where the water is. So do your homework, friends, and you can find out a whole lot ahead of time. This is the kind of information that makes me feel super comfortable before I go. So just like we did with Campendium and also with the DCNR site, the reserveamerica.com, you can get into pretty much anything similar on the DYRT, DYRT. You can look at Google Images if you want, satellite images. There's so much you can find out ahead of time. I would just caution you not to go into overdrive because you do want to leave a little mystery for the whole situation. Just think about the things that really do matter to you as a solo woman camping. And just like you might get sketchy vibes when you're on site when you're camping, if you're getting sketchy vibes when you're going through the reviews, that's a definite no. At least it is for me. If you want a deeper dive into research, I did do a whole video on how to find amazing campsites. This video today is more about safety and how to ensure that I'm choosing a site that makes me feel safe. But if you just want to learn about the different kinds of camping and the different kinds of campsites, then check out this video here and it will definitely help you round out your understanding of the ways that you can approach this. Even with a reservation, I highly recommend arriving in the daylight because no matter how much you research, the real test happens when you get your feet and your eyes on the ground. And with that in mind, here comes strategy number 2, the on-site safety checks. Let's check it out. All right, so you've made it to your campground, or at least your potential campground. So first thing you should do, first thing that I do, is to just do a drive-through. I want to check it all out, especially if this is a place where I did not make a reservation. Because sometimes that happens, right? And I might know a little bit about it, or I just happen to stumble on it, whatever it may be. I want to get the lay of the land before I make any commitments. And so I drive through and just check out all the sites, check out the locations for the bathrooms or any of the other common areas, proximity from one site to the next. Just how does it feel? And I do all of that before I park. All right, you definitely want to get your bearings now. And so here's a quick checklist of things that I go through just to make sure that it does feel safe. Now, some of these may not feel like purely safety things, but they definitely speak to the entire experience and whether or not it feels good to me. Okay, first thing is I'm gonna check the weather before I ever get there. I want to know what I'm getting into. I do not want to sign up for a night in a monsoon, for example, or if temperatures are going to be incredibly hot or incredibly cold. These are just things I need to know going in. Number 2 thing that I want to know is the payment system. And I know this isn't a safety thing, but you pay differently at pretty much every campground. It feels like they want you to pay in some different way. Online, cash, check, credit card. Like, I've done every possible different option. So just know what you're getting into in that situation. Find out where the bathrooms are, find out where you're going to do dishes if that's going to be a thing, where the trash is, all that kind of stuff. If you have a dog with you, find out, are there dog areas or non-dog areas? That's super important to me because Lexi, who's always with me when I'm camping, or almost always, I need to know and make sure that we are in the part of a campground where she is allowed to be. Okay, this doesn't apply to all campgrounds, but certainly there are a great number of them that have camp hosts. And I like to seek out the camp hosts. They're usually right near the entrance. Find out, just kind of check in who they are. Do they make me feel comfortable? A lot of times it's a couple that's there for the summer, for the season. And that's usually where you get your firewood in a lot of cases. And sometimes it's even where you pay for your campsite. So check in with them, just kind of get the lay of the land. If you have questions, they're going to know the answer to everything. And I have definitely stayed or left a campsite based on the camp host or the proximity to the camp host. I like camping kind of near a camp host if I'm in some place that feels a little desolate to me. I just feel like they know all the stuff, and if I get in a pinch of any kind, like, they're my go-to. Okay, a few other things in terms of safety. I want to make sure that it doesn't have any poison ivy. There's no snakes around. That's a big one for me. Critters, other animals, like what's going on in the animal situation? What can I expect? That's another camp host question. Out west, I almost always ask a camp host if there are bears in the area, and a lot of times there are signs as well. And then I want to see, like, how am I going to park? and I like to park facing out. So if I did need to get away quickly, which has never happened, but it's just a cautionary thing, right? I want to know that I can face parking outward and just get a sense of how does that campsite feel in terms of safety? Do I feel too secluded? Is it too protected from other things? I just want to know all of that. So I want to walk into that campsite and think, I feel good here, I feel safe here, and I will base every decision I have on that exact feeling. So figure out in my list of things which ones are important to you, add your own, and then again, like I think I say this on every video related to safety and camping and all these things, is that the more you think about it ahead of time, the easier the whole thing is going to be, and you're just going to feel much more confident. So have a plan going in, and then execute your plan and just have the best time camping, because it is oh so much fun. And I know in this video I haven't really talked about safety items, and that's because I have other videos that cover all of that. In fact, you can check out this one, 6 items that most people don't take camping with them but absolutely should. That one covers a lot of things that I would consider safety items, as well as you can check in the link to find my Amazon camping list, which also includes a lot of safety items. Don't worry, I got you covered. Okay, let's dive into strategy number 3, and that is to settle in the sunshine. I know I've already said that it's important to arrive early, but I just want to drive that home again, because for a woman camping on her own, solo women camping, listen to me, it's so important to arrive in the daylight and figure out everything that's around you. You do not want to arrive in the dark, and I probably don't even need to list the reasons why. Plan ahead enough if you possibly can. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but plan ahead so this is not your story. Once you do arrive, you want to do that site check that we talked about, and then you want to settle in and get yourself organized. Put up your tent, or if you're car camping, you just get yourself together, or your RV, whatever it is. You just want to feel settled and get a good sense of things while the sun is still high in the sky. This also gives you time to just take a walk around. It's so important to get out of your car and walk. You're going to be able to hear differently. You're going to be able to take things in differently and just see, is the vibe friendly? Is it the vibe you're looking for? Do you feel uneasy? So I suggest even doing that before you get yourself all unpacked if you have time, for sure. It's also good to be on the lookout for other solo women camping. Do you see any? I see more and more as I camp. I also personally feel very comfortable if I have some couples around me or some families nearby. Camping to me really feels very community related, and people are generally very, very nice. And I like that feeling of having them close but not too close. So you just have to figure out what works for you. But that's the vibe I'm usually looking for. One of my very favorite camping vibe stories was in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. It was my birthday, and I might have been feeling just a little bit funny about being on my own on my birthday, even though I'd had lots of phone calls and texts and all that kind of stuff. It was my birthday. It was a little bit later in the day, and there were these 2 girls across the road from me, and they were on the water, and I was, it was on a lake. And they were so kind. They had me for dinner with Lexi. I think it was all about Lexi now that I think about it. But that's fine. It happens all the time. So they had us for dinner. They had us for drinks afterwards. I just had the best evening with them. I'd never met them before. They were from Steamboat Springs, so they were literally lived 45 minutes away. But they were just up there for the weekend, and they were having a grand time. So you just never know who you're going to meet. I've met some really cool people when I'm camping, and that's one of my favorite stories. And I knew that vibe was really good when I got to that campground. It just felt really fun, but not too fun, if you know what I mean. So it was perfect. Okay, the next thing, the 4th strategy that's so important that I want to talk to you about is, what do you do if it's not perfect? So let's settle in and talk about trusting your gut. Okay, we've all heard this one 1,000 times for different reasons, but it's never more true than when you're on the road. And that is to trust your gut. Simply stated, if I arrive at a campground, reservation or no reservation, and I drive around and it doesn't feel right, I give myself complete and total permission to just get out of Dodge. I don't even think twice about it. Doesn't matter if I have a reservation, doesn't matter if I paid for it. As a solo woman camping, chances are that if I don't feel good about it initially, that feeling isn't going to get better as the evening wears on and it gets dark. Chances are it's not a good fit. And so I bolt. So what do you do in those situations? If some of these things raise red flags with you, don't feel bad about leaving, even if you're not even sure where you're going. You just have learned that you know that you don't want to be where you are. That's enough. I've done it many times. I'm going to give you one quick example. I had made a reservation at a state park in Wyoming that looked great on paper. Many of them are, and many of them are great in real life too. But when I got there and I drove up this winding hill, I'd had the very best day and I was super psyched about this campground, and I got there and it felt very desolate, which, okay, that's not in and of itself a bad thing. If there are other people around, for me, that works. But there was hardly anyone around. The campsites were super duper rocky. There was not a lot of shade, and there were only a few people wandering around, and they just kind of looked like they almost didn't even belong there. I couldn't explain it. It didn't matter. Within 5 minutes, I was like, absolutely not. This is not for me. And I left. It was just so important that I listened to my gut and that I left that situation. And I ended up in a much, much better one. The only bad part was I did have to set up my tent in the dark, which I absolutely hate and swear that I'll never do it again when I do it. But in that situation, it was pretty important that it get done in that space because there really was no place else to go. And it was a beautiful situation. I woke up to a gorgeous sunrise and mountains, and it was a great surprise in the morning. So there was that. Okay, let's take a minute here to breathe. Time out. If this all feels pretty overwhelming, I get that, especially if you are not just learning to solo camp, but maybe solo travel is also new to you. So it's a lot of new. Well, I've created a guide that I can offer you for free today. I'll put the link below and you can see it here. It is the Going Solo Quick Start Guide. So check that out if that's of interest to you. I think you're going to love it. So many of the strategies and tips that I'm sharing with you today as solo women campers are wrapped into one short story that Lexi and I experienced last summer near Red Lodge, Montana. So today was not perfect. No day is perfect, but today was not perfect. Today we had, an afternoon that was kind of unsettling. The short version is that Lexi was attacked by another dog. She's not hurt. It was very scary. The dog came running through the campground, not where we're staying, but another one where we were thinking about staying, and first ignored her and then just jumped on her and bared her teeth and started really trying to grab her, and thankfully did not puncture her skin in any way. So I can't believe it because it took a long time to separate them. And now I have a sis of a dog, and while I know she would defend me, she is now really nervous. And so it was, we've had sort of a rough afternoon and evening because she's just, it definitely bothered her, of course, as it would. And of course it bothered me, but she's going to be fine. So that's a good thing. And then that same campground where I was trying to be brave and stay in this dispersed camping area, it was such a beautiful sight. It was alongside this magnificent creek roaring down the mountain. And then that happened. We hadn't set up yet. I was just thinking about it. We were just going for a walk, and I wanted to think about it for a few minutes. And then that happened, and then I got back to the campground, and I really started to look around the site, and I noticed just massive bear claws scratched down the trees all through the site. And I was like, you know what? I know people stay here all the time, and it's not a big deal. I'm just not okay with it. And the combination of those two things, and we ditched. And so we're literally about 2 miles down the road in Custer National Park, or Custer National Forest, at one of the, National Forest campgrounds. So I have a campground host who's right next door, and I don't know if I'm feeling a little needy or I just wasn't quite up for all the things tonight. So it's still magnificent. It's still beautiful. I have a roaring fire, and so God is good. What a blessing that the day turned out the way it did. I am eager for another day tomorrow. There's wonder around the bend. There's also weirdness. There's also the unexpected, and I just, in the end, went with my gut again. I wanted to be brave and stay, but I knew that there was also wisdom in walking away, and so that was the choice that we made, and I'm very glad that we did. So if this whole solo thing is sounding pretty cool to you and maybe you'd like to know more, here's one other thing I can offer you. I have written the #1 bestseller. It's called There's Wonder Around the Bend, an inspiring guide to solo road tripping. And you can find it here. The link is down below. No pressure, but it's full of great stuff, including a lot of information about safety. So pick it up today on Amazon. You can also pick it up at wonderbingtravel.com. And I would just love to have you along for the ride, no matter how you want to enter into this little world. Solo road tripping and solo travel is so much fun, so I hope to see you on the road. So let me know, what haven't I mentioned that you think is important in choosing a safe campsite? Please let me know in the comments. I'm always eager to learn from all of you as well, so I'm anxious to hear what you think. Also, please remember that we are all coming from a different place of experience, of comfort level, and things that make us feel confident. So my confidence level and yours may be very different. So you just need to figure out what works for you and plan accordingly. I'm popping a whole playlist full of camping videos here for you to enjoy. So I hope you have some popcorn and you can do a little binge watching. Find something you love, subscribe to Wonderbing channel, and Lexi and I, well, we hope we see you on the road.